I know many people hold me ultimately responsible for the actions and reputation of the global football community. We, or I, cannot monitor everyone all of the time.
The big question is, was Blatter taking bribes himself? Because if anyone has information on Blatter, that will come out. But I'm not sure anyone does, because he's made various enemies in FIFA. I mean, people like Jack Warner, Mohammed bin Hammam, he ousted them, and they didn't squeal on him. And that suggests to me that he maybe wasn't dumb enough to do anything visible, like put a bribe in his back pocket. You know, he has an enormous undisclosed salary, and maybe that's enough for him. Despite everything that's happened the last 10 years, one of the last people in the world you'd choose as your enemy would be the U.S. government. I mean, these are pretty formidable people. So this is serious, but it also tells me FIFA's going to say, well, we'll just cut the U.S. out of the world. We're not going to do any business there. We're certainly no longer going to route any bribes through U.S. banks. That was a really dumb thing that allowed the U.S. to start pursuing this. And probably not going to give the U.S. a World Cup ever again, because that just invites problems. So I think FIFA is going to say, you know what, we still have loads of friends in the world, especially Russia, especially Qatar, especially most of Asia, and that's just going to do us very nicely. The Americans are a problem, but we can work around it. I think FIFA will become a bit less corrupt, but the thing is, FIFA doesn't really need to be corrupt, and because what they can just continue to do completely legally is they took in $5.7 billion the last World Cup cycle. They have very little expenditure, and so they can use the vast bulk of that cash, A, to pay themselves huge salaries, and B, to give out these so-called bonuses to the National Football Associations, 209 of them, to make sure these FAs keep voting for them. Because, you know, if you run a small football association on some Pacific island, and like happened last year, Blatter says, oh, here's a bonus of $750,000, you will probably be grateful and vote for Blatter. Now, that's totally legal. So they have this patronage organization where, you know, most of the FAs are beholden to them, and they have all this money that they can do what they like with. Switzerland's not really going to give them trouble. So I see FIFA as mostly sailing on without the kind of more egregious and visible corruption. The sponsors have been incredibly cowardly because they all want their place at the table. And they will be saying to FIFA, look, you know, please stop embarrassing us like this. And FIFA's going to say, yeah, we'll try to embarrass you a bit less, but you know what? You want to keep sponsoring the World Cup? If so, shut up, because if you're not happy, there's a lot of other companies that would like to sponsor the World Cup. We don't need your money. I mean, FIFA, because it has the World Cup, gets income from all over the world. Everyone wants to be part of the World Cup. So I think the sponsors are more afraid of losing their place at the table than they're going to be brave in pushing FIFA. I think Russia and Qatar will keep their World Cups. I mean, Russia is just 3 years off, and even if Western reformers, you know, were more powerful in FIFA than they are, and even if they turn up lots of evidence that more evidence that Russia and Qatar had paid bribes, what are you going to do? Are you going to say to Vladimir Putin, okay, we're going to strip you of the biggest prestige event in the world? Are you going to say to a Muslim country, a powerful Muslim country, we're going to take away the World Cup, which is the most important thing in your history? It would be a really big geopolitical step to do that. So I don't think that anyone has the kind of courage and desire to do that. And remember that, you know, we Western countries who are complaining, we're just a very small part of the FIFA action. There are 209 countries, and most of them don't really see what a problem this is. The strange thing is that FIFA has been a corrupt and horrible organization for years, and football has just continued to thrive. I mean, it would be better if, you know, the $5.7 billion they took in over the last World Cup cycle had gone to build, say, football pitches in Africa. That would have been great, and that hasn't happened at all. But football is much, much bigger than FIFA. You know, football is hundreds of millions of people kicking a ball. Football is the clubs, which are doing really well, both the big clubs and the small clubs. Football is conquering new countries, you know, from China or Indonesia to the US. So despite FIFA, football is doing brilliantly.